Hi friends, this is Selvajan here. Welcome to my networking channel. Hope all are doing good. And today the topic I am going to discuss about how to configure BGP configuration through GUI in a Fortigate firewall. So as per the architecture, I connected two firewall 1 and 2. So both are Fortigate firewall by a physical link. So this link will be the WAN link. Okay. So the WAN one end IP is 1.1 and other end IP is 192.168.1.2 and the LAN port I connected PC1 and PC2. So the PC1 IP is 10.2, the gateway is 10.1 and PC2 is 20.2 and the gateway will be 20.1. So this will be port 2 and port 3 I have connected to the GNS3 cloud. This is for mainly accessing the GUI of firewall 1 and 2. Okay. So these are the configuration. So initially what I have done is I have enabled the GUI access for firewall 1 and 2. Okay. So I'm going to show you the configuration. Then we'll access the GUI firewall 1 and 2. Then we'll configure the corresponding LAN and the WAN interface. So the first and foremost thing, I will be configuring the LAN and WAN interface for both firewall 1 and 2. Okay. Then the second thing is I need to configure a policy for allowing the LAN to WAN and WAN to LAN communication. So that I'm going to do. And the third part is I will be configuring the eBGP neighbor relationship. So these are things I'm going to do. So the first and foremost thing, let us go to the console part, admin and the password. Okay. So let us view the configuration I did for accessing the GUI of firewall 1. So the command is show system interface port 3. Okay. So this is 84.50 IP. Okay. This is for accessing the GUI of firewall 1. IP is 84.50. I have allowed access ping HTTP and HTTPS. So this is for firewall 1 and for firewall 2 also the same port I have designated, that is port 3. So how to view the configuration is show system interface port 3. Okay, this is 84.51. So now we'll open the Chrome browser and we'll access the GUI of firewall 1 and 2 and let us go ahead and configure the LAN and WAN interfaces. Okay, so let us open the Chrome browser. So the IP is 192.168.84.50 is for first firewall, username and the password. Similar way, let us log in the second firewall also. 192.168.84.51 is the second firewall and let us log in with the username and the password. Okay. So we are able to access both the GUI of firewall 1 and 2. So now I'm going to configure the WAN and the LAN interface. This is the WAN interface, that is 1.1, and the LAN interface for both firewall 1 and 2. Then let us configure the policy and the BGP configuration. I hope you are following this. Just go to network interfaces and this port 1. Okay, so this port 1 we need to configure for as a LAN port. Sorry, it is a WAN port, and already we have done the port 3 configuration 84.50. This for accessing the GUI. So now let us configure the WAN port, that is port 1 is for WAN port. So now let us designate the role as WAN. IP is a manual. Let us assign the IP 192.168.1.1/55.55.55.0 and let us configure the default setting. Already ping is enabled, so just click OK. So here one more thing I need to do is go to port 1 and let us change the alias to WAN port. So this will be easy to identify. Okay, so this WAN port, just click OK. And now let us configure the LAN port. The IP is 10.1. Okay, so go here, go to port 2. So port 2 is for LAN port. So let us make it as LAN underscore port. Then the role should be LAN. IP is manual. And let us configure the gateway 192.168.10.1/55.55.55.0 and let us enable the ping communication. Just click OK. So this is only configuration. So we have configured the LAN port and also we have configured the WAN port. So now let us quickly go to the second firewall and let us configure the WAN and the LAN port. WAN port is port 1 and the LAN port is port 2. This is 1.2, that is WAN IP. This IP is 20.1. Okay, so let us go to the second firewall, that is port 2. Go to network interfaces. So already we have done the port 3 configuration. This is for accessing the GUI of the firewall 2. So now click port 1, which is the WAN port. So let us change the alias to WAN underscore port. Then the role should be WAN. click manual. IP is 192.168.1.2/55.55.55.0. So the ping communication is already enabled. Just click OK. And now we have to configure the LAN port. So the LAN port IP already we know is 20.1. Okay. So just click port 2 and change the alias to LAN port, and now change the role to LAN. Okay. So LAN, now let us assign the IP as 192.168.20.1/255.255.255.0. So this is the second firewall, and let us enable the ping communication. Just click OK. So now we have configured the LAN and the WAN interfaces for firewall 1 and 2. So let us quickly do a ping from firewall 1 and 2 just for confirmation. Admin, so give the password. Show system interface port 1 is the WAN port we have configured. Okay, and port 2 is a LAN port. You can view like this. So now let us do a ping 192.168.1.1 and the remote interface 1.2 and the LAN interface, that is 10.1. So that also I'm able to reach. And let us quickly go to the second firewall. Just log in. Show system interface port 1 is the WAN port, that is 1.2, and the port 2 will be the LAN port. Okay, so execute ping 192.168.1.1, that is I able to reach, and also 20.1. Okay, so we are done with the LAN and the WAN configuration for both firewall 1 and 2. So we are done with the basic interfaces configuration. So now I'm going to configure a policy. So I'm going to show you why we have to create a policy. So let us go to PC1. The IP is 10.2 and the gateway is 10.1. Okay, so let us now ping the IP. So ping 192.168.10.1. I am able to reach. How about 1.1? So that WAN IP I am not able to reach. This is a WAN IP. Similar way from the second PC2, let us ping the gateway 192.168.20.1. I am able to reach but not this particular interface. Let us ping the second interface, that is 1.2. That is a WAN interface. I am not able to reach. So what I am going to do, I am going to create two policy, that is from WAN to LAN communication and LAN to WAN communication from both the firewalls, and let us do a ping. Okay. So let us go to the Chrome browser. Just click the first firewall. I mean first firewall. Just go to the policy and objects. Click policy and objects. Click the IPv4 policy. So by default an implicit deny policy will be there. So that is not allowing the communication. So now let us create two rules. So let us name it as rule 1. Okay, incoming interface let us give it as WAN port, LAN port. Source let us give it as all, destination let us give it as all, service should be all. Okay, just click accept and click OK. So this is the first rule. And also now let us create a second rule from the LAN to the WAN communication. As per the architecture, WAN to LAN we have done. Now LAN to WAN for the first firewall. Okay, so just create new a second rule. Let us name it as rule 2. Incoming interface LAN WAN port, source address is all, destination is all, service should be all, and just click OK. So this is for the second rule. Okay, so we are done with the configuration. So how to check from the command prompt is go to the first firewall, show firewall policy. So this will show the two rules. So rule 1 from port 1 to port 2, that is from WAN to LAN, and second rule is through from port 2 to port 1. So it's already enabled. So now let us also enable the communication from the firewall 2. So this is port 1. Okay, so this is port 1 and this will be port 2. Okay, so now I'm going to the second firewall and I'm going to enable the communication. Let us go to the policy and objects, click IPv4 policy. So by default an implicit deny policy will be there. So now let us add the policy. I am going to add a rule 1 for allowing from WAN to LAN communication. Just shows to be all. So you can give the specific source and destination, or I can simply give all. Schedule is always, and service should be ICMP, or you can give all. Okay, Just click OK. Now also I have to add a second rule for the firewall, that is from LAN to WAN communication. Okay, so create new, so rule 2, so that is from LAN to WAN communication. Show should be all, destination should be all, and service should be all, and click OK. Now let us view the rule from the command line CLI. So this we are doing through GUI. So now let us view from the command line. Okay, so also we should know from the CLI perspective, right? So the command is show firewall policy. So the first policy is from port 1 to port 2, that is from WAN to LAN. Second rule is from LAN to WAN communication. Okay, so we are done with the communication. Now let us do a ping from the PC1 to gateway and also this IP. Let us do a ping. Okay, so let us go to the first firewall and let us ping the WAN interface. Now I am able to ping the WAN interface after creating the policy. Let us also create the other end WAN interface from the PC1. I still am able to reach till this interface, and now let us ping the 20.1. Okay, so 20.1. So 20.1 it is showing unreachable. See why? Because still I have to create a BGP configuration is pending. Let us check it from the other end also. So 1.2 I am able to reach from PC2. Okay. So PC2 1.2 I am able to reach. 1.1 also I should be able to reach. Only thing I cannot reach the 10.2. Okay, so now let us go ahead and configure the BGP configuration through the GUI parameter. Okay, so go to the first firewall, go to just network and go to BGP. Okay, so now this particular thing will be in autonomous system number 1 and remote is in autonomous system number 2. So go to local ASS 1 and also let us add a router ID 1.1.1. Okay, and now let us create the neighbors. So the neighbor IP is 192.168.1.2 1.2 and the remote AS is 2. Right, click OK. Okay, the IP is 1.2 and the remote AS is 2. So this 1.2 remote AS is 2, and also now let us advertise the network. Okay, 192.168.1.0 slash 255.255.255.0. So these are two connected networks 1.0 and 10.0 I'm going to advertise. So the second network is 192.168.10.0 slash 255.255.255.0. Just apply the configuration. Okay, so we are done with the first configuration. So we added the neighbors also. So now let us go to the firewall 2 and let us go to the BGP configuration network, and now let us go to BGP. Okay, so now the local AS from the BGP firewall 2 is autonomous system number 2 and the remote is 1. Okay, so the local AS is 2 and the router ID let us define it as 2.2.2. Okay, and the neighbors is remote AS is 1 and the neighbor IP is 192.168.1.1. Just click OK, and now let us advertise these two network, 1 dot network and a 20 dot network. I'm going to advertise that prefix. Okay, so 192.168.1.0 slash 1.1 slash 255.255.255.0. Okay, so this is 1.2. So let us go here. Okay, let us define this 1.0 and also add 192.168.20.0 slash 255.255.255.0. Just apply the configuration. So check the autonomous system, local is 2 and the remote is 1. Just apply the configuration. So now let us execute the BGP summary. So now let us show the BGP summary. Let us go to firewall 1, admin port. So now let us check the BGP configuration. So we are done with the interface configuration. We have configured the interfaces. Then we have configured the policy from a LAN to WAN and WAN to LAN communication for both firewall 1 and 2. Then we have configured the BGP configuration. So how to view the BGP configuration is show router BGP will show the BGP configuration. So this is the configuration we have configured through GUI. So via CLI you can view like this. Okay, and the second configuration is show router BGP. So this is the configuration we did. Router ID config neighbor, and the remote IP is 1.1 and the remote autonomous terminal is 1, and we have advertised the prefix. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to check the BGP summary from the first firewall. Okay, so the command is get router info BGP summary. So this will show the already the neighbor is established, and also let us check the network. So get router info BGP network. So already the remote network it is learning. From this remote network is 192.168.20 via the next hop IP is 1.2. Okay. Similar way, let us go to the second firewall. So the command is get router info BGP summary. So the neighbor is already established. Let us view the network. So get router info BGP network. So already it is learning the remote network, that is remote network is 10 dot via next hop IP is 1.1. So it's already learning. So now let us do a ping from the PC1 to the remote PC and the PC2 to this PC1. Okay. So let us go to PC1 and now let us ping the remote PC. PC2 I'm able to ping, and also from the PC2 let us do the remote PC, that is 20.2. So the sorry, it is 10.2, right? So 10.2 I am able to reach. That means I am able to successfully ping between the two different PCs which are in a different subnet. So that's all about this BGP configuration. So the only thing you have to know about, first and foremost thing, we have to configure these directly connected interfaces, and don't forget about the policy. The policy configurations are mandatory in a Fortigate firewall. So we have to create two policy from a WAN to LAN and LAN to WAN communication from firewall 1 and 2. And the third thing, we have configured the BGP configuration in firewall 1 and 2. Okay, so that's all about this video, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Thank you.